let's go deeper into the dynamics of the timeline jump, specifically a point that I raised in the last video about the timeline jump, and that was karmic dust, karmic debris, as we hit the wall of the timeline that we have just jumped out of. Give me a moment, I'll give you the visual. It set about a dust cloud of karmic residue. That's what I'm going to be talking about today, as well as answering a couple of questions like, how do I know if I have made the jump? Will I be stuck in the old timeline? Do I have to create the new timeline? What am I meant to do to ensure that I'm in my higher timeline? So there's quite a bit that we're going to cover today, and there'll definitely be at least one, maybe two follow-on videos from this one. So make sure you're subscribed and you're following, hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload all of the related content to this timeline series. The karmic residue, let's talk about it, because you're going to see the repercussions of it in your own life. You're going to see the repercussions of it in the collective. And I want you to be able to identify it when you see it. Now, this is not the first timeline jump that we've done. This is so not our first rodeo. We are well-equipped, well-versed timeline jumpers. The difference is we've been doing this unconsciously. Now we're doing it consciously. We're being called to a higher level of awareness as we step into higher and higher frequency, and the timeline shifts into higher and higher elevation points. The timeline is navigated, the higher timeline is navigated already by a higher version of you. Get it? There's a higher timeline and a higher you in that timeline, and the you that you are now gets absorbed into this, absorbed into the higher timeline self. But there are things that you've got to set in place to enable that to happen. And one of them, just one of them, is don't get caught trying to patch up what appears like a broken reality. So in other words, you know, when things start falling apart in our lives and I feel like I'm at a breakdown point, at that point in our lives, we're very tempted to whip out the glue, the sellotape, whatever we need to plaster the walls of a breaking reality back up. And when we do that, we're making a big mistake, because what I want you instead to do right now is surrender, get the hell out of your own way so that the flow into the higher timeline can happen. But that flow has a feeling to it, and the feeling is, I'm not in control here. And if you grasp for control, you're grasping for the glue to try and patch up the old reality. And yes, you can get stuck there. And that is part of the karmic dust cloud. What that is, in the false matrix, we were set up to repeat lifetime after lifetime without coming to resolution. So we were accumulating more karma, more karma, more karma, more karma, but no evolution was taking place. Instead, devolution, degradation was taking place. So we weren't evolving, we were just accumulating karma. So that what happened was, generation by generation, we were carrying more and more. So the ancestral baggage, your own baggage, landed up as something that you were pulling behind you. That's what the karmic debris is. As you hit up against the wall of the old reality, the old timeline that is now no longer operational, you slam up against the wall first. Normally it takes a couple of days. And then the karma, the debris, the dust cloud starts to happen, because all that was trailing behind you now gets flung up against the wall where you are, and it is in your face and it is everywhere. And for people who are unconscious, so you may see this in the collective, it's kind of like the hot potato game. It's like, well, all my karma is now surrounding me and it's in my face, and I don't yet have the tools to elevate beyond where I am. So all I can see is the karmic dust that surrounds me. That's overwhelming. And then I'm going to play a game of hot potato. If I'm unconscious, that's what I would do. I would pick up a hot potato and throw it at somebody. And what that's the equivalent of is saying, I'm seeing myself and I don't like what I see, so I'm going to project it at you. And I'm hurting and I'm in pain and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm going to dish it out at you and project more at you and give you stick and throw some at you. And this is what you may very well see. And I know that people can do that already, but imagine how exacerbated that can be when people are surrounded by their own karmic dust and karmic debris. The timeline jump is what? It's an alleviation of the karmic dust, but you've got to be able to leave the dust, to let the dust be where it is, to not try to patch that reality up, because then you stay in the reality. The higher timeline and the timeline jump doesn't hold the karma, doesn't hold the dust, doesn't hold the residue that you were trailing or that was trailing behind you in the old reality. This is miraculous. There's a video that I put up a little while back, and it was called Timeline Wars. And I'll link the video, but there I explained to you how there are all these abandoned timelines, and in the abandoned timelines is an abandoned self, which holds almost a fragment of you. You've heard about soul retrieval. If you haven't, it's a healing modality wherein you retrieve all the lost pieces of self. And essentially, all these splintered timelines hold fragments of self, and then we stop feeling whole. We stop feeling complete. We start feeling like we're hanging out in suspended animation somewhere else, because we are, and our energy never feels like it's with us entirely, because it isn't. And to avoid that from happening, I'm releasing this series of videos. I made a timeline playlist on my channel just to help you really find all the information that you need to better understand what we're going through. Don't pick up the debris. Instead, pick up yourself. And understand that you're now here for your next job, which is, elevate your frequency. Brand new role with brand new priority, elevate your frequency. The next video that I'm going to put up after this one is going to detail for you how to do that, how to key code for the new timeline. What does that mean? Your body is the key code that opens the entry to the new timeline for you. Remembering that there's a you that's already there. What we're trying to do is bring the you that's in the old timeline into the new one and absorb it, alchemize it, so that it's one unified self. The more unified you are, the more your energy is in one space and place, the more whole you are, the more potent you are, the more powerful you are. And that's why I'm putting out these videos, so that you can get there, so that you can get to this, so that you're not all torn and splintered and shattered and fractured and fragmented with parts of you happening everywhere. There are a lot of people so comfortable in their discomfort. There are so many people who hang out, and this is what I want to talk to you about, in the limbo space of an ended timeline. What happens is, bam, you hit the wall of the timeline as it ends. Most people use that as a means to jump into the higher frequency. But some people have lost the adaptability. You know that saying, you got to adapt to survive? Well, some people survive as in their heartbeat continues, they stay alive, but they're not emotionally, energetically surviving, because they're here up against a wall, either of this timeline or even a past one, or one before that, or one before that, or one before that. That's a 4D space that you land up in. And it's characterized by a limbo-like state. By the way, a lot of people ask me this, well, is 4D then a bad place? No, 4D is not a bad place. It's just a stepping stone between third and fifth dimension. It's a very important place. We need it. It's where we calibrate ourselves to 5D. So it is important, but we don't want to hang out there. We don't want to embody and live there, because it feels a little bit like an emptiness. Feels a little bit like we're not moving forward, because where we are in reality right now is we're in a timed reality, and the 4D matrix or the 4D world operates outside of time, which is why you feel like time stands still. It's why you feel like nothing's happening and you're not able to progress. So it's not a favorable place to stay at that 4D point. By the way, reality, the body is 3D, but the reality that we're in is a 4D reality. So when I say to you, you've whacked up against this wall, you're going to sit in a 4D reality. If you stay there, understand that the higher timeline is also a 4D, but it's an elevated 4D that is so close to 5D. It is so infused with 5D energy because 4D is an entire spectrum. Here at the lower level, it is limbo. Here at the higher level, it's bordering 5D, where it starts to feel a lot more solid, a lot more embodied. Time behaves more normally, etc. So that's the distinction between those different spaces and places. Now, when you hit up against the dead end of an ended timeline, an abandoned timeline, it feels like I described earlier, suspended animation. You stop moving forward. If you find yourself there, then you know, I need to shift. I need to find the permission. You see, you thought I was going to say you need to find the stuck place, and then you go, oh, how do I go find that? I've got to embark on a journey of analysis. If you're in the Plasma Light Tribe and you work with me, you know exactly how I'm going to answer this. Analysis is the paralysis that slows you down. This is not about analyzing. This is about a new skill. I spoke about this in detail in call 147 in the Plasma Live Call Library, and that was, you have to meet yourself where you are. Most people are trying to avoid where they are. You have to meet yourself where you are in order to go beyond where you are. In other words, in order to make that shift into the higher timeline, you first have to get present, get real, get authentic with yourself so that you can come into the fullest embodiment of yourself that you can. Then the alchemy is possible. Then the full reabsorption is possible into the higher timeline. So therefore, no, you don't need to go analyze, where am I stuck? Instead, you need to check in with yourself. How authentically connected to the moment am I? How authentically present with me am I? And if you want to really go deep into that, go replay call 147 in the Plasma Live Call Library. That is my online community. It's an hour and 40 minutes, so I'm not going to be able to give you the full masterclass that I gave to them there. But the smallest part of it that I can give you, just a little tidbit of it, is meet yourself. I say to them, put your bum down. Put your bum down and meet yourself, because we're so used to climbing, striving, moving, doing, that we lose ourselves and we become invested in the space that our ego occupies, which is either the past or it's the future, but it's not the now. I spoke in detail about the difference between the now and the present. That's also worth knowing. And I spoke about something enormously important, and that is, you have to learn to go beyond words and connect with your energy. Old paradigm spirituality taught us that spirituality was about the words we used. We said things like, you speak your reality into existence. Your words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. Now, we led ourselves into a paradigm which was very dense because it was very word dependent. We stopped realizing that we're beings of energy first. We're beings of frequency first. And when your words describe the energy that you are, okay, now you're in business. But a lot of people are so misaligned, they haven't connected with the energy that they are. In other words, the authentic where I am moment, the getting real with myself moment. They haven't gone there because they're afraid. Again, old style spirituality said, don't go into negative places, avoid them like the plague. So we just didn't. We bypassed them. The tools, the skills that are required to move forward are a lot of letting go of all those old paradigm ideas and actually surrendering to where you are, how you are, getting present with yourself so that you can energetically get full and occupy your space. And the crazy, beautiful, wonderful thing is this. We were taught that if you connect with yourself in a very yuck space, that you're going to create more of it. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. When you connect with your authenticity, even if you're authentically depressed or angry or what you think of as low frequency, if you're able to do this masterful thing, which is connect, meet yourself where you are. If you're able to do that without judgment, and we're going to carry this on in the next video where I explain to you how to key code yourself for the higher reality. If you can enable yourself to do that, you're going to find that your energetic presence comes alive. And the authenticity that you start embodying starts to negate and dissipate anything that is low frequency. You're going to start to be amazed by what happens when you have the courage to really face yourself. And then you're going to see miracles take place where the place that you once avoided, when you're in the courage to be there, it stops being low frequency. Your authenticity shifts it. Your authenticity begins to alchemize the so-called low frequency into high frequency. It's one of the most important skills to learn. So I've got a whole lot more to share with you. Follow for more, but until we speak again, from my heart all the way into yours. There it is. I do hope you feel it. We are walking each other home, and we are walking into a higher timeline together. I am Kerry K, and I am so blessed to be walking beside you. Go watch the video that I've been speaking about, which is all about timeline jumping. Go watch that video just for the background on what I spoke about here today. Bye-bye for now.